Hello everyone, welcome back to another video, and today... Oh man, where am I?
Welcome to Experiment Room 0. Please ensure compliance of the subject. Refer to the instruction sheet to begin.
Oh no, not this place again. Oh boy, well before I do these tasks, let me tell you, the good ending for Stereotypical Obby is finally out. Well, kinda. The first part of the good ending is out, but there's more than that. There are 3 new mini-games in the game to find before getting to the good ending, each revealing a lot more about the lore and story. So in today's video, we're going to talk about each mini-game, what they show about the Stereotypical Obby, and the story going forward. I'm going to throw a quick guide on how to get them real quick. You're supposed to... otherwise known as revisiting old secrets. The secret this mentions is the secret dialogue text of Helper should you let the dialogue chats play out. This will allow you to get the openings for the minigames. Next up is to go to stage 30, and this is where the fun begins. Each minigame has a randomized opportunity to spawn in whatever stage going forward from stage 30 to stage 49. Every minigame is present within one game of the Stereotypical Obby. The way you find them is that you have to find strange particles next to a spawn point, and walking on them will reveal a gateway, which is a white light. This will then show you a failsafe going into the 3 minigames. As mentioned, there are 3 minigames. We'll go over each of them in length, but in short, you have Experiment 0, Hallways, and a Stereotypical Tycoon, otherwise known as A.S. Tycoon. Once you complete all of them, you have to do everything normally, however. The place where you are supposed to get the bad ending from there will then change into the good ending, and all progress is saved. There's 2 quick notes. First of all, you have to have all the badges and the 3 stars in the Stereotypical Obby main menu. If you wanted to get the bad ending beyond this point, you actually can't currently. You need to delete all your badges and then redo everything to get the bad ending. But just know that those are the only possible ways. Got all that? Good. Now let's get into the minigames. A Stereotypical Tycoon is the first minigame on the chopping block, and it sees you in the middle of the woods building something. Your objective is to complete the Tycoon. Initially, you do packaging, and it slowly gives you money, giving you the ability to purchase more stuff. In the packaging rooms, we see the one thing that is being packaged, the Axiom headsets. You buy offices, an elevator, the lobby, and then you actually get to see the company name, Juxtaposed Technologies. Pretty cool, huh? Anyway, we continue to build until we get to Sector 2 and the fire alarms, which a trespasser turns out to be in our building, but we don't find them. As we turn to leave, the building gets caught on fire, and then you have to escape. Reaching your van, you leave, surviving one more day. The next one is Experiment 0. This one is the one that is the only one where you could die in the game, and it's where I am at. Ain't that convenient? I'm at this place again. It's not the first rodeo, but I'll tell you how it goes. Here, you have to reach 100% compliance. Initially, you see some form of helper in the background, almost lifeless. However, once reaching 21 to 25% compliance, you then see Monster Helper. The voice over the radio tells you to refer to the new instruction sheets, to which you get controls on how to contain this thing. The main guide for this is if you hear this, you have to shock it. If you hear this, you have to shine the light on it. And if you hear this, you have to blast the sound. Upon reaching 80% compliance, your character will start panicking, however, as you can hear your heartbeat and a ringing sound coming from your ear. While it becomes more difficult to hear Monster Helper, when you reach like 92 compliance, you can essentially spam the switches to get to 100%, ending the stress and the minigame. You are then instructed to go through the way you came, and that's all. The failsafe ends. The last one, and the one that I think is the most interesting, is Hallways. Hallways is a very interesting case as you start in a small hallway, walking to a door. Next to the door, there are 2 books that I really want to mention and that popped out to me. The Science Behind Thought, and the book The Workings of the Human Mind. These books are a little bit strange, but I think they represent where we are now, lost in thought and trying to figure out how the mind works, and something a little more down the road. Trying to open the door, however, reveals that the door is locked. Looking away will reveal yet another hallway, with a door at the end. Trying to go to this one will also reveal that this door is locked, with you stating it was locked the first time. Looking away again, a flower vase breaks and another door is revealed. You try to open it, but to no surprise, it's locked, and you state why bother. I will say this now, no door ever opens, just kind of keep that in mind. Another hallway is shown, but this time much darker, and it's worth noting that if you don't stare into the darkness but away from it, text will appear stating to look into the darkness and to not look away. It seems that we are not alone with this, and that somehow, in the Stereotypical Obby, someone is trying to contact us, convincing us to stare into the darkness. Another door appears, and this one has text that states it won't change anything. This time, looking away from the reveals a dark corridor with drawn doors and X's all over the place. We are no longer in a hallway, but almost in another world entirely. Going to the door at the very end of the hallway will state it won't over and over. We, the player and the creator of this game, are getting more frantic with this, getting more and more anxious as we try to get out, with whatever being on the other side of the door likely being an escape from this hell. Walking down the hallway, red text will appear saying guilty over and over and over again. We keep going to the door, and the text here says, take me to another world. We are then taken to a hallway with 11 sad faces on each side, 22 people total. The red text reappears saying, this is my fault, I am so sorry kid, I don't know what I created. And also, I'm so sorry I couldn't protect you. This time, when we reach the door, we try to open it and then proceed to bang on it. Our character states, I can't take this anymore. Walking towards the end and looking at another door, we see a character curled up on the door, to which we state, I am so sorry, before it disappears. The sound of a gunshot is likely heard with this. It lets us once again try to open the door, but to no one's shocker, it's locked. This time, our character demands to be let out of this world, and we are taken right back to the hallways, but something is wrong. Here the red text will appear, and it will actually state the current time you are playing, and depending on the time, different dialogue will appear. If you're playing in the morning, it will state the start of a new day. If you're playing in the afternoon, it will say playing in the afternoon, and finally, playing in the evening, it will say it's getting late, isn't it? Walking closer to the door, the game will ask how it's like being in your country. And then, once you fail for the last time trying to open the door, the text below will finally change to guilty, guilty, guilty. Upon walking away from the door and looking away, a bunch of red text will appear. And that text states, I'm so sorry, what have I done? Stop, stop, stop. I'm guilty and free me from this hell. All of these keep repeating over and over and over, and after a while, your character will raise up his hands to his head, covering it before falling to the ground and collapsing. The minigame ends here. To get the good ending, you need all of these 3 minigames, never to have died, and to play the game normally. Once reaching stage 60, and however, instead of, cutting to the scene where it says, this is no obby, it will actually say, good ending part 1. And for now, that's where it ends. But with that, and with this new information, let's get into the story and what they mean. I can't believe that guy in the white van was so generous. After I completed the task, he gave me some candy. Anyway, we're back home now, so let's talk about the story. So from the original video, go watch it by the way if you haven't, it's going to be pretty relevant for this. What I got right was the fact that we are indeed the founder of Juxtaposed Technologies. AS Tycoons confirms this as we are building up the place in the middle of the woods. This is likely after our prison break, however, it's never really said explicitly when this takes place, but it would make sense due to it being in a remote location where it's kind of hard to find given that it's surrounded by the woods. The badge given for this is also called construction work, which is important because this is how it all started, eventually being set on fire and our work destroyed. This is also why we could imply that the room we're in at the end of the bad ending looks rusty/burnt, and it's very likely the remains of whatever was left from the blaze when we escaped in the present moment. Beyond that, there isn't much, other than this was likely kept secret due to the experiments that we do in Experiment 0. Also to mention, the fact that there is an intruder or a trespasser in the building, I think is the one that sets fire to the place, allowing the monster to break free. Which means that there is someone who is actively working against us for an unknown goal. Experiment Zero is chronologically the next game in the timeline, as it takes place before the fire but after the construction of the building. I say that knowing that AS Tycoon kind of shows everything in one go, but I believe that AS Tycoon takes place over a period of time to which Experiment Zero can take place. Here it shows us one room, one with what seems to be a dead helper in the back. Here we do see our motives, but we'll talk about it a little later when we reach hallways. When exactly this all takes place is unknown, but I'm going to assume that this takes place before Replik County Archives, which we do have a date for, being July 2003. Then, the only minigame that takes place after Replik, I think, is Hallways. Hallways reveals character's true nature in that he feels a lot of remorse for what he's done, but more importantly, for what he's created. He feels guilty for the murder of a kid, stating that he's sorry he couldn't protect them, but also that in his current state of mind, he's in hell. What's more is the fact that there are 22 sad faces, I think, is not the people he's killed, but rather the people his creation, Monster Helper, has. That's right, boys. The person we play as is more like Victor Frankenstein more than William Afton. Now, this doesn't mean that we're a good guy. Oh, by no means. It's very likely we've game-ended a lot of people, as confirmed from the corrupted helpers and their base 64 code. But I think that it's being done for what might be a good reason, at least the reason that we believe it's being done is good. I think our character is not the baddest of bad guys within this story, but rather a more Victor Frankenstein-esque character. Let me let you in on the Book of Frankenstein. Basically, in the book Frankenstein, Victor, the professor who creates the monster, who everyone calls Frankenstein, but he's never actually given a name, he's just called the monster. Anyway, he creates the monster, and in the story, the monster kills the people Victor loves in order to make him suffer. The monster originally game ends Victor's youngest brother, known as William Frankenstein, and initially it's just because he wants to befriend him, but then realizes that he's a Frankenstein and kills him. Later on, however, the monster gives him a deal to Victor Frankenstein, saying, "If you make me a wife, I will leave you alone and I will leave humanity alone." He won't. Victor agrees to this initially, but midway through the process, he gains some form of epiphany and then destroys everything he was working on. The monster becomes enraged and later kills Victor's best friend, and then later tells Victor that on the day of his wedding night, he will be there, and he will also game end his wife, which he follows up on. He does this so that Victor knows how it's like to be the monster, basically living in hell. Eventually, after the death of his wife, Victor hunts the monster down, to which both go to the North Pole, where you have to go all the way back to the beginning of the book, and that's the present moment, where Victor is found by a sailor at the beginning of the story. And then later on, Victor dies. I think our character is initially like Victor, attempting to create a monster for some purpose we still don't know. But if I had to guess, it's to study the human mind. However, the monster keeps resisting up until it's subdued and complies. It works with us to study the mind and in some manner create what I believe is to create a more advanced version of the headset, one that might perfectly adjust to the thoughts of the user and and make a perfect game for them. However, the fire that was set to the building allowed the monster to break out, and with there being no way to contain him, like in the manner we did in Experiment Zero, it escaped in its monster form. It, like the monster in Frankenstein, probably went after our loved ones, and we had lost everything, failing to protect our kid when we had the chance. Not wanting to lose another person, we had to find a way to contain it. This way is to trap him in a game so stereotypical that it becomes the Stereotypical Obby. However, I think this is where our regret comes from. Creating a trap, which is ultimately the game, requires a bait to lure it, to which the bait could either distract the monster long enough to permanently subdue it or defeat the monster altogether. This bait was people. So we put souls in a machine. We do not like this one bit. We actively regret what we are doing, but our character might believe that it is necessary in order to contain the monster once again. This is like the scenario of the trolley question. If you could save 5 people at the cost of 1, would you do it? And I think our character is answering that question. Our character game ends people, but does so that many more people can be saved, or rather spared from the monster's wrath. Once the pieces are in place, however, he goes back to the office where it all began to finally end this. By playing the failsafes, which mind you, all of these are called failsafes, we are counteracting any chance of connection termination. And by doing so, once reaching the stage where we would have had our connection terminated, we instead are able to continue the game, where we reach the good ending. We'll have our freedom from hell, but at what cost?
But hey,
that's just a theory. A game theory. Thanks for watching.
For the general timeline of events, you've an uncertain made this timeline, which you can see currently. This is the timeline that I agree with the most about the general events that happen that we see. Anything assumed, like the prison break and stuff, is not included, but I just wanted to mention it. Thank you so much for watching. I know this one was a doozy, and that I had to kind of recreate the story from what we were given, but I really wanted to do this as soon as possible with as much consideration for you guys, and also to kind of analyze all of this. My theories could be completely wrong, but I was really hyped for this one, and I think that there is some ground. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Right now, Brains, the developer of Stereotypical Obby, has said that he plans to make a part 1.5 of the good ending, which will reveal much more about lore, so I'll cover that when it comes out. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please consider liking and subscribing, and I will see you guys in the next video. Till then, I've been Top Hat King, and bye-bye!